the sacred pause, finding power in your softness. Have you ever felt like you're drowning while everyone around you thinks you're just swimming really well? That's the question that kept surfacing during my remarkable conversation with Lashuna Young, a visionary whose spiritual wisdom has transformed countless lives through her tireless work empowering Black women to reclaim their peace. Lashuna isn't just a mentor or guide, she's a revolutionary force who understands that true liberation begins within. Her ability to help women shed generations of conditioning around strength and sacrifice has created ripples of healing that extend far beyond individual lives into communities and future generations. What Lashuna shared with me wasn't just advice, it was a lifeline for anyone who's ever felt the crushing weight of always being the strong one, always holding it together, always putting others first. The most dangerous place to be, she told me, is in a mindset of where you believe your value comes only from what you can do for others. Those words hit me like a thunderclap. Because how many of us have been taught that our worth is measured by our productivity, by our ability to keep going when everything inside us is screaming for rest? Let me ask you something. When was the last time you put yourself first without feeling guilty about it? When was the last time you protected your peace without apologizing for it? If you're struggling to answer, you're not alone. The world has a funny way of teaching us, especially Black women, that strength means endurance, that power means pushing through, that success means sacrifice. But what if everything we've been taught about strength is wrong? What if true power isn't found in how much we can endure, but in knowing when to stop? What if the most revolutionary act isn't pushing harder, but pausing long enough to hear your own heartbeat? This is the wisdom Lashuna Young shared with me. Wisdom that has the power to transform not just how we live, but how we love ourselves through the journey. There are three fundamental truths I want you to take away from our conversation. Three pillars that can transform your relationship with yourself and the world around you. First, never give up on yourself, even when life feels overwhelming. Second, self care and spiritual connection are essential for strength and peace. And third, protect your peace and blessings by setting boundaries and prioritizing your own growth first. These might sound simple, but they're revolutionary in practice. Let me show you why. I want to tell you about Shakitha, a Black woman entrepreneur whose story perfectly illustrates these principles in action. Shakitha launched her business after facing repeated exclusion from traditional business networks and funding sources. The doors that seemed to open easily for others remained firmly shut for her. She encountered systemic barriers at every turn, limited access to capital, lack of visibility in mainstream markets, and the subtle but persistent bias that comes with being a Black woman in spaces not designed for her success. But here's where her story takes a powerful turn. Instead of internalizing these rejections as a reflection of her worth, Shakatha did something remarkable. She leveraged her creativity and resilience, building a business model that centered on community needs and innovative problem solving. I realized, she said, that the very things meant to exclude me were actually directing me toward my true purpose. Her company not only survived, but thrived, inspiring others and contributing to a surge in Black women led startups. She built a sustainable business, was featured in major media, and became a mentor for other Black women entrepreneurs. But the most powerful part of Shakitha's journey wasn't her external success, it was her internal transformation. How she refused to give up on herself even when the world seemed determined to tell her she didn't belong. This is what Lashuna Young means when she says, your journey, no matter how difficult, holds meaning and value. The Lord is within you, and your mindset, positive or negative, shapes your reality and your blessings. Your mindset isn't just some fluffy concept, it's the lens through which you see your worth, your possibilities, your future. And when you shift that lens from scarcity to abundance, from fear to faith, everything changes. But this kind of transformation doesn't happen in isolation. It requires connection to yourself, to something greater, to a purpose beyond your pain. This brings me to Angel Himes, another remarkable woman whose story embodies the power of self care and spiritual connection. Angel, a Black entrepreneur, turned her personal losses and setbacks into a mission to support others and build generational wealth. Like Shaketha, she faced historical underfunding, lack of access to networks, and limited visibility for her business. But Angel understood something crucial that many of us miss. You cannot pour from an empty cup. She sought mentorship, embraced both rest and ambition, and built a support system that prioritized wellness and legacy. She understood that taking care of herself wasn't selfish, it was strategic. It wasn't a luxury, it was a necessity. Angel's business became part of a broader movement, contributing to measurable increases in Black business ownership and success rates. She launched multiple ventures, received funding, and was recognized for her leadership in entrepreneurship. But again, the most powerful part of her story wasn't what she built, it was how she built it. By prioritizing her well being, by connecting to her faith, by understanding that her strength came not from pushing through exhaustion, but from honoring her need for restoration. As Lashuna Young emphasized, you do not need to be a church member to access the Lord's guidance. Faith and self love can be nurtured in everyday life, especially through adversity. This is a profound truth that many of us miss. Spiritual connection isn't about perfect attendance or performative piety. It's about finding that quiet center within yourself where wisdom resides. It's about trusting that still small voice that guides you toward your highest good. But here's where many of us stumble. We understand the importance of self care and spiritual connection in theory, but in practice, we struggle to protect these sacred spaces in our lives. Which brings me to the third pillar of wisdom from my conversation with Lashuna Young. Protect your peace and blessings by setting boundaries and prioritizing your own growth first. Let me share with you the story of Simone and Maya, two remarkable women highlighted in Patricia Harris's research. They founded Navigate Maternity after witnessing disturbing disparities in maternal health care. They faced systemic racism in healthcare, lack of industry support, and skepticism about their vision. The path forward wasn't just challenging, it was actively hostile. But Simone and Maya understood something powerful. Their ability to create change depended on their willingness to protect their vision, their energy, and their peace. They built an FDA cleared maternal health technology company, focusing on inclusive design and advocacy for equity. Their company achieved national recognition, increased revenue by 80%, and became a leader in health tech innovation. Their story shows how faith, resilience, and self determination can turn exclusion into innovation, benefiting not just themselves, but their entire community. But here's what's most instructive about their journey: they didn't succeed despite setting boundaries, they succeeded because of them. They understood what Lashuna Young means when she says, sometimes standing alone is necessary to receive your reward and to discover what you are truly capable of before pouring into others. This is perhaps the most counterintuitive truth for those of us raised to believe that service to others should always come first. The idea that prioritizing ourselves isn't just acceptable, but necessary feels almost heretical. Yet consider this: on an airplane, you're instructed to put on your own oxygen mask before helping others. not because you're selfish, but because you can't help anyone if you're unconscious. The same principle applies to your life, your energy, your peace. Setting boundaries isn't about building walls, it's about creating sacred space where you can breathe, heal, grow, and connect with your own wisdom. It's about recognizing that you cannot serve from depletion, you cannot lead from exhaustion, you cannot love from emptiness. As I reflect on these stories and the wisdom Lashuna Young shared, I'm struck by how revolutionary these simple truths really are. In a world that profits from our self doubt, loving yourself is an act of rebellion. In a culture that glorifies burnout, rest is resistance. In communities that expect women, especially Black women, to carry everyone else's burdens, prioritizing your own well being is nothing short of revolutionary. So I challenge you today, dare to pause, dare to breathe, dare to put yourself first. Not someday, not when everything else is done, but right now. Because your revolution begins with rest. Your power is magnified through peace. Your impact multiplies when you honor your limits. This isn't just about you feeling better, though that matters profoundly. This is about disrupting generations of sacrifice and suffering. This is about modeling a new way of being for those watching you. This is about creating ripples of healing that extend far beyond your own life. So take that sacred pause, set that boundary, prioritize that self care, not as an indulgence, but as an act of radical self preservation in a world that would gladly use you up. Your softness is not your weakness, it is your superpower. Your boundaries are not selfish, they are sacred. Your rest is not laziness, it is revolutionary. And in claiming these truths for yourself, you don't just change your own life, you become a living invitation for others to do the same. You become proof that there is another way to exist, not just surviving, but truly gloriously thriving. The world doesn't need your exhaustion. It needs your wholeness. It needs your joy. It needs the unique magic that only emerges when you finally give yourself permission to be both soft and strong, both vulnerable and powerful, both human and divine. This is your moment. This is your sacred pause. This is your invitation to revolution. What will you do with it?